Japan's Valentine's Day looks romantic from the outside. Chocolate, love confessions, cute messages, but in real life, it can feel less like a movie and more like relationship logistics. Because in Japan, Valentine's Day isn't just about love. It's also about categories, expectations, and sometimes workplace survival. What the hell? This is what people get wrong about Japan. Today, we're talking about Valentine's Day in Japan and why it's very different from what many people expect. A lot of people think Japanese Valentine's Day is simply a girl gives chocolate to a guy she likes, and that's how dating starts. Yes, it happens a lot, especially if you're in school. But more reality is, Valentine's Day in Japan is often a social event as much as a romantic one. And by the end of this episode, you'll understand why the giver is often women, why there are so many types of chocolate, what school Valentine's is really like, why office Valentines can be complicated, and why Valentine's Day in Japan doesn't end on February 13th. Okay, if you've watched anime or Japanese dramas, you've probably seen the classic scene. A girl makes chocolate at home, she carefully wraps it, she gives it to a boy after school, he's shocked, everyone's watching. Yes, this image exists. Lots of my friends made a confession to guys they really like and they started dating, or some guys declined their confession. Anyways, so if you think about that's the main Valentine's experience for most Japanese people. Yes and no. Because when you're a student, Valentine's Day can become less like a romantic movie and more like a chocolate distribution event, unless you have a crush. It's not just homemade chocolate, like real chocolate you want to give to the one you like. A lot of girls also make Giri-choco and tomo-choco. I'll explain later. So they end up making a lot of chocolate at home in big batches, like they're running a tiny factory, only on February 14th. I mean, February 13th. So instead of one special chocolate for one person, it becomes okay, I need enough for my friends and classmates and maybe club members. And at that point, the kitchen turns into a battlefield. So let's break down what makes Japanese Valentine's Day very Japanese. One thing that surprises many non Japanese people is this. In Japan, Valentine's Day is often the day when women give chocolate to men. Not always, but almost always. So men can just relax. Traditionally, that's the common pattern. So if you come from a culture where Valentine's is mutual, flowers, cards, couples going out together, Japan can feel one sided at first. And the real question becomes, who do you give it to? And what kind of chocolate? Because yes, Japan has categories. So here's where it gets very Japanese. In Japan, Valentine's chocolate often has labels, even if they are not written on the box. So, one of them is homemade choco. That's the chocolate for the person you truly like, your boyfriend, your husband, or someone you really want to date. The second one will be Giri-choco. This one is very famous. Giri is a Japanese concept that's hard to translate. It's like obligation, social duty, relationship maintenance. Sounds not exciting, right? So Giri-choco is chocolate for coworkers or people you should give something to. So not the exciting one. And then tomo-choco, chocolate for friends, often exchanged between girls, especially among students. Once you become an adult, you don't really do tomo-choco anymore. And jibun-choco. Jibun-choco is just chocolate for yourself. So Just people want some excuse to buy fancy chocolates. Usually you just get some chocolates from supermarkets, but on that day, because there's a category called Giri-choco, you can get a fancy chocolate for yourself. You can get them anytime you want if you really want to, but they need excuse. Anyway, and recently, some people also talk about oshi choco. So, chocolate for your oshi. Oshi is kind of a trend word these days. That means your favorite idol, character, or celebrity. Sometimes people buy fancy chocolate and enjoy it while celebrating their favorite. So, yes, in Japan, Valentine's Day can look like romance, but it can also look like a social system with categories. And once you have categories, you also get pressure. Now, let's talk about the most interesting part: homemade choco, the real chocolate for your crush or husband or boyfriend. In Japan, what people consider the best homemade chocolate can change depending on your age and situation. What the hell? Okay, so when you're a student, handmade chocolate is often considered sweet and special because it shows effort. I spent time on this. I made this just for you. It's personal. But here's the funny part: students don't just make one chocolate. A lot of girls make homemade choco and Giri-choco and Tomo-choco. So Valentine's Day turns into a huge baking project while you're basically preparing chocolate for half your social circle. It becomes less like a confession moment and more like, okay, I need to package 30 pieces before tomorrow. And because everyone is making chocolate and exchanging it, it almost feels like a school event, a chocolate sharing festival. And of course, the boys have their own Valentine's Day culture because in many schools, the big question isn't even, did you get chocolate from your crush? It's more like, how many did you get? And some boys actually compete. They compare numbers, they brag, they pretend they don't care, while absolutely caring. It's like a popularity scoreboard made of chocolate. So, yeah, Valentine's Day at school isn't just romance, it's also social ranking with snacks. But when you become an adult, once you become a working adult, the meaning of the best chocolate often changes. A lot of people start preferring high quality, expensive chocolate. Not because handmade is bad, but because adults often value quality and taste more at the stage of life. So, yes, student romance is handmade effort, and adult romance is high quality taste. Both can be sincere. They just show sincerity in different ways. Now, let's talk about the part that makes people laugh, suffer, or both: workplace Valentines. In some offices, Giri-choco, which is kind of like obligation chocolate, used to be very common. Women giving small chocolates to male coworkers. But for many people, it felt like a burden. I hated it. If you have some female coworkers, they usually share the cost, and one of them go for chocolate shopping, and they just split the bills into the number of female coworkers, and they just distribute the chocolate to male coworkers. So in recent years, many workplaces have moved away from it. Some offices even have unofficial rules like no Valentine's gift at work. And honestly, sometimes not giving is the kindest option because it removes pressure for everyone. But it really depends on the workplace. So if you're living in Japan and you're unsure, don't guess. Ask what's normal in that office. Now, here's the biggest twist. In many countries, Valentine's Day is a single day. In Japan, it's not, because after February 14 comes White Day, March 14th, a month later. Traditionally, men return gifts to women. Exciting. And that opens a whole new set of expectations. What do you return? How much? How much did girls spend? What if you don't return anything? So, Valentine's Day in Japan is basically part one of a two-part system. And in the next episode, I'll explain White Day and why some people love it and some people absolutely hate it. So here's what people get wrong about Valentine's Day in Japan. It's not only a romantic confession day, it's also a social event with categories: homemade, giri, tomo, jibun chocolate, and even oshi chocolate. Remember, favorite idol, stuff like that. School Valentines can become a full on chocolate distribution event. And yes, some boys really do compete over how many chocolates they get. So every Valentine's Day, when I was a student, I felt so relieved that I was a girl, so I don't have to compete with the numbers of chocolates you get. And the meaning of best homemade chocolate changes with age. Students often value homemade effort, adults often value high quality taste. And finally, Japan's Valentine's Day is not a one day event, it's part one of a two-part system. Now I'm curious. In your culture, who gives gifts on Valentine's Day? Is it mutual? Do people give gifts at work? Or is that considered strange? And do you have anything like White Day? Let me know in the comments. Next time, we're talking about White Day in Japan and the return gift culture that comes with it. Thank you very much for listening. See you next time.